This is the Biz News Podcast, one-on-one conversations with experts in business and personal development.
It's customary for managers to delegate tasks to their staffs. Sometimes, though, that backfires, with managers having to get into that nitty-gritty to save the task and wondering why they bothered to delegate in the first place. Sales management expert Aaron Salko says stopping at delegating is wrong. What's needed, he says, is to empower those to whom you delegate. Mr. Salko joins us in this episode of Bizgnus Interviews to explain his better path to success. Let's get right to the heart of the matter, Aaron, and you say, for leaders, don't delegate, empower. I thought delegation was all about leadership.
Yeah, it is. As a leader, delegation is a task that we need to take on, because the higher you get, the more responsibility you have, the more your bandwidth shrinks, and the more you try to do yourself, the more you're going to screw up, in my opinion. And so, delegation is important to understand who's on your team, who are the players, who wants the ball, and who can you trust to give the ball to. And that also translates then into empowerment, because there are people that want the opportunity, they want the challenge. And if you've got high performers or high potentials on your team, man, they're going to challenge the hell out of you. And you better be ready to give them the ball, because they're going to start asking. And if you don't give it to them, well, they're probably going to leave.
That does coincide with a lot of recent research that shows 80% of people who are drawing a paycheck are spending part of that time looking for another job.
Yeah. And, I believe that organizations and leaders of organizations have the right mindset, but they don't necessarily always know how to acknowledge and then perpetuate the performance and of these individuals. Because that's not their job. As an organization, your job is to make X widget or provide X service, right? Your job isn't to know how to coach somebody for high performance. But yet all leaders want high performing team and high performing individuals. And so, that's why you have these additional coaches and you have these people that you bring in and all these DISC assessments and different assessments to try to understand what performance looks like. And that's what really I wrote the book on.
Well, tell us more about the book. First, start with its name.
The book itself is called The Ninth Stratum, and it is it's the guide to high performance. My career is based in a very entrepreneurial environment. We are a global solutions provider, and it is one of these jobs that requires high performance. My job for the organization is to take people, to identify candidates, bring them in, and then coach them through almost becoming their own CEOs. And so when you look at what's needed to be successful in this career, it's a lot. And I spent 22 years here still trying to figure it out. But that really perpetuated the book and everything that's in the book. And really, the book came from, I'm Gen X, and as a Gen Xer, classic Gen Xer, we sought acknowledgement. We worked hard, and when we didn't get acknowledgement, what do? We worked harder, right? and so, throughout my years of just growing up, and then into high school and into college and then into my career, I've always sought that acknowledgement. My performance was always based on really the lack of acknowledgement and trying to get to that next level so I would be acknowledged. Classic symptom of a lot of organizations and the employees that work for them. And so one day, many years ago, somebody said, well, you're a high performer. And I said, yes, great. What the hell does that mean? And like, who are you to say that I'm a high performer? Is there a governing body of high performance? What's the criteria? And, it was very subjective to me. And so it led me down this path to say, we use that term very loosely. How do we define it? How do we not only then define it, but then show individuals the pathway to high performance, how to get there? And looking at it through the lens of not only my career here in this very entrepreneurial, high performance, sales driven environment, but all of the organizations and leaders of organizations that I've had interactions with throughout my career here, and my experience in Vistage, which is I'm sure you've heard of that. Talking to leaders, understanding the challenges they have, understanding the desires they have, it got me into this place where I was like, okay, I have the framework for this, and we need to dive deeper into what high performance is. And so I began to do that. We began to look at career skills, hard career skills. And what we realized is that it's great that you're fantastic at your hard career skills, but if you don't have the soft skills, and I hate the word soft skills, but we're going to use it for now, you can be as great in the career skills as you want. You're not going to, if you're a poor communicator, if you're a bad listener, if you're uncomposed and you can't manage your emotions, the people around you are not going to want to work with you. They're not going to take direction from you, and they're not going to champion you through promotion. And so we get into this, into this mindset. Okay, let's focus on these skills, and these are what I've called the performance-based skills. And we've defined 45 of them in terms of high performance. And they're broken down into 5 different categories: mentality, cognitive abilities, mastery of emotion, social interaction, and the big one that everybody forgets about, personal health, right? And so in studying high performers from all walks of life and all industries, not just sports, but we have the business moguls, and yeah, they're great too. But the people who are really good at their job. It doesn't matter if you're a garbage man or a waitress or a doctor. Everybody operates at a high level when they're really good at that job. And so we looked at it and said, okay, what is that level? And that's where the 9th stratum came to be. The 9th stratum is the operating level of high performers. It's their ability to master the skills necessary that are critical to their career, develop processes for these skills so they're consistent and competent in them, and then be able to teach them to others. And so that's the 9th stratum.
Aaron, I can't tell you how many CEOs and other top managers have told me over the years, we just cannot find the talent that we need. Is it possible, from your experience, to find the potential talent and then develop them into what is needed, or what is the answer there?
That's a great question, Doug. The answer is yes, unequivocally yes. And so in developing the criteria for these 45 performance-based skills, the criteria is that they can't be innate. It's not something that you can say, oh, I was just born with. These are skills that can be learned, taught, learned, applied, and then improved upon. And so if you look at every one of these 45 performance-based skills, there is a process that you can learn and then improve upon to get better at these skills. And a lot of these skills, people look at them and go, drive, composure, work ethic, you can teach these. And we've gone through the whole process and said, yes, there are processes to these skills that you can practice and get better at. And really what the 9th stratum is it's our ability to teach individuals how to be self-sufficient in improving these skills over time, because the 9 stratums of performance are a learning scale, right? The 1st and 2nd stratum, you don't really know what the skill is, or you really don't care about it. Maybe you haven't gotten feedback on it. Then you get progress to that 3rd stratum which is the aha moment stratum, when people say, hey, your organization needs to improve because it's affecting your performance. And you go, oh boy, better fix my organization skills. And then you get into that fourth stratum where you begin to seek the knowledge and the learning, the coaches, right? And then in the fifth stratum, you begin to use those coaches and the books and the knowledge. Sixth stratum, you begin to apply. And it's always messy in the beginning. Trying new things, it's always crazy messy. In the seventh stratum, you begin to practice more. You're getting more competent at it. You're getting more confidence. Eighth stratum, high competency, high confidence level, high consistency. Ninth stratum, high everything, and you can teach it.
Wait a minute. Is there a 10th stratum you have in your back pocket?
I love that. So there was in the beginning, and I said, okay, the 10th stratum is perfection, right? And we all know that perfection is fleeting or it doesn't exist. Perfection can be when an Olympic gymnast gets the perfect 10. For that moment, they achieve perfection. But guess what? There's always somebody behind you going, I'm going to be better than that. I'm going to do better than that. Great
How
question.
have you applied all of this knowledge to your career?
Yeah. So early on in my career, what I went to school for is not what I do today, like many of us. And so without knowing these 9 stratums at age 26, I dove into books and I looked to learn things about my new industry that I was diving into, and then quickly begin to apply them, to test them, to see if I could put them to use. And so that was what I've done for the last 20 some years. And it's always treated me well. Even though in that 7th stratum, I sometimes make a lot of mistakes and get real messy with my application, but that's how it works.
As you have recruited people for your company, have you ever been absolutely positive they're going to be great and then they disappoint you? And
Oh yeah.
what has caused that?
Oh yeah, 100%. What caused it is my lack of ability to identify the true performance-based skills that are necessary or critical to the role. We always have these people that we meet in interviews, and they come in, they're bouncing around, they're very boisterous and just fun to be around. You're like, yes, I love that person. We want to hire that person. And then they get in the job and they can't organize themselves out of a paper bag. They have no communication skills. They can't write, and you're going, why the hell did we hire this person? Right. So yeah, that happens.
Or maybe your boss is saying that.
Yeah, no kidding. Right. But Doug, that was why we took these 45 performance-based skills and we developed an assessment for it. And so the assessment is a self-assessment, and it allows individuals to understand what the skill is as it pertains to their performance, and then assess themselves on the learning scale of the 9 stratums to really figure out where they are. Am I practicing? Do I even know about this skill? Have I been given feedback that I need to improve this skill? You can literally you can literally self-assess yourself for all 45 performance-based skills and really figure out what you look like as a person looking to improve their performance, as a low potential, as a high potential, or as a high performer.
One of the things that comes out in what you say is that you are talking about 45 different things to check. So many people we have interviewed over the years say, well, I have a list of 3 or maybe 5. How
Right.
come you have 45?
That's a great question. And the 45 really, I guess, it starts out when people began talking about emotional intelligence, right? And there were 5 there. And they began to look at this and say, oh yeah, the people who are emotionally intelligent, those are the ones we want to hire. And that is correct. I mean, I believe it was the founders of Google back in 1998 really assessed how they hired and fired and so on and so forth. And they found that, it wasn't the career skill people, the high career skill people, or the people who mastered STEM, it was the people who had high emotional awareness and intelligence that perpetuated their careers through Google. and they became the high performers, right? And we said, okay, emotional intelligence is one thing, but what else? And we began to look at all these high performers from all different walks of life. But you know what we also did? We looked at the low performers. We looked at the people who failed, and we began to dissect why they failed. What skills were they missing that led to their inability to improve their performance or retain their jobs, right? And so when we look at that, it opened up this whole array of different skills that were not just emotional intelligence. You know, they were things like in mentality. They were things like drive, perseverance, personal ownerships, boldness. You get into cognitive abilities. You know, these are the problem solvings. Are you decisive? Can you focus? What's the creative? Are you a creative thinker? Right? Mastery of emotion. Okay, here comes the emotional intelligence part. You know, emotional self-awareness, coachability, though, optimism, self-regulation. These are some of the things that have to do with how you can handle your emotions. And then you know, in the social interaction, charisma, likability, social awareness, empathy, trustworthiness. All these things add up to like these skills that the high performers exude and the low performers were deficient in. And it didn't matter the career skill. You could have doctors or surgeons that were unbelievable at their career skills, but yet they weren't promoted by the nurses. The patients weren't happy with their bedside manner. And, you know, you have this person who's got great technical skills, but they lack the performance-based skills.
Are those basic skills something that they should have learned as they were going through elementary and junior high, et cetera, as they were growing up?
Man.
Or are they things that you can teach them once they are adults? And if you've tried, what's been the result?
Doug, that is probably the greatest question, right? Because a lot of the feedback that I've gotten from the book is like, man, I wish I had this when I was younger, or this is what your parents would tell you, but yet your boss can't tell you, right? So yes, you know, there are things that we learn as children and as young adults that we take with us through life, and that we can be good at. Sometimes they start out as a learned behavior, but if you can identify that it's actually a skill, you can use it strategically in your career, right? But yeah, the whole concept of what we're doing now, after taking the book to this next step, is developing this performance library of experts who are ninth stratum in all of these skills, like specific ones. You know, you might have a salesperson who's ninth stratum in networking and likability, right? And we've sat with these people and said, okay, you know, you're really good at this. What's your process? And they go, I don't have a process. And we go, okay, we're going to ask you some questions and we're going to help you break down your process. And we do that. And they go, holy crap, I have a process. Like, yeah, now you can teach that to others. Yes, I can. And the aha moment comes and you go, hey, okay, we can teach these skills. Doesn't matter the age, but there's two things that people need that I can't give them and no one else can give them: desire and effort. If you don't have desire and effort, you know, you're not going to want to learn and you're not going to put the effort forth to improve. Those are the only two things that we can't give. Everything else, I think we got covered.
Aaron, what is a URL where people can get more information about you and the book?
Yeah, thank you. The URL is stratum-9.com, and that's NINE, not the number, but the spelling. And my book is everywhere. It's on Amazon, it's on Apple Books, it's you know, it's anywhere an audiobook or a paperback can be found.
And what would you like to add that we have not yet had a chance to talk about?
The one main thing is, you know, everybody thinks that high performance is innate, and we have unequivocally proven that it's not innate. You know, there are skills that are specific to every role in every career, that if you focus on these skills and you raise your stratum in them, you can reach a level of performance greater than your peers. and thus you become a high performer. And as a high performer, it doesn't stop there. You're always driving to get to that next level. You're always driving to be better, but you're also having an altruistic mindset to teach and show others, become a performance leader, take others through the pathway, and raise the performance overall. Because when we do that, we are surrounding ourselves with people that we want to work with. We achieve greater things together, and we perpetuate everybody's success.
You've been listening to the Bizgnus Podcast. We welcome your input. Send your email to editor@bizgnus.com. That's BIZGNUS.com. Thanks for listening.